Right. So, welcome to StudyIQ English channel platform. So, myself Himanshu.
And I am Kinsuk Parasar. I welcome you all on this platform.
So today, finally the wait is over. So we have GS paper 3 with us, and if you see the overall, the paper is very good. And now we'll see the analysis part of this paper. So if you see that there are total 8 questions from Indian economy, and from environment and disaster management there are total 5 questions, and from science and tech there are total 3 questions, and from internal security there are total 4 questions. So if you see the weightage also, so economy question carries 100 marks, whereas environment and disaster management carries 65 marks, and science and tech carries 35 marks, and your internal security 50 marks. So you can see that UPSC has done justice with all the subjects. So they have given importance to all the subjects. So if you see the questions, so we'll see the questions one by one. So if you see the question, so there are total 20 questions in this paper. So question number 1, 2, 3. So if you see question number 1, 2 and 3, whereas question number 4, 11, question number 4, 11, 13, 14, 17, 18 and 19, they are very simple questions, or you can say they are from static portion. Okay, static portion. Whereas question number 5, 6, although we'll send you the copy also of the question paper, don't worry about it. Question number 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 15, 16 and 20, they are, you can say, question which require current affair knowledge. And if you see questions which require your interlinkages with other subjects, so for example question number 5 that require interlinkages. So if you see the question number 5 that is require interlinkage, so it is with respect to artificial intelligence. Okay, so it requires interlinkage. Similarly question number 9 which talks about security and polity, so requires interlinkages. Whereas in question economy questions also we require linkages. So we'll see these questions one by one. So you can say in paper there are some questions very easy, some are very tough. So we'll see these questions step one by one. So if you see question number 1, so this question number 1 is talking about, or you can say this is from industry chapter. So as your syllabus clearly mentioned, that is effect of liberalization on industries. So this question is from that area. So as the question says, faster economic growth require increased share of the manufacturing sector in GDP, particularly MSME. Comment on the present policies of the government of India in this regard. So you know that we have production link incentive scheme, we have Make in India. So we are talking about that. Plus, with respect to MSME, government has taken so many things or so many initiatives like procurement policy. Okay, like you can say facility for credit. So many things you can say government has taken a step with respect to MSME. So you have to discuss those things plus overall industry. So if you see such type of questions, UPSC has already asked in, or you can say they have asked in past also. So this is what you can say this question. If I say that this is an easy question which require your static knowledge. So this is what you have to remember. So you have to write in 150 words and 10 marks. So I hope majority of the students, those who are writing mains, they have written this question very well. Okay. Now come to the
one thing, sir, I would like to add here, there is this general pattern of UPSC. If you have seen the previous year questions also and this year also, you might see that in this particular question also, faster economic growth requires increased share of manufacturing sector in GDP, particularly of MSME. And then after, they have not given any such tell word like comment, discuss or anything. They have just asked one part of the question, that comment on the present policies of government in this regard. So UPSC is keeping that same pattern also, they give such one statement, and many of the people who are new or those who are starting to write answers, they may do this thing that they can give adequate focus on the first statement and then they come to the second statement. So this is one thing which you have to learn by seeing the previous year questions also, that the question is asking about this very part, that comment on the present policies of government in this regard. And as sir was telling you, like we have got this Make in India program and other related schemes, like we have got the production link incentive scheme, we have got so many things for MSME sectors as well. So this gives you the context of the question, but here is the demand of the question. That is what you have to understand here.
Okay. So that is with respect to present policies. So this is what you have to remember. So they are not asking about past policies. So you can say, you can, in this you have to write at least whatever major initiatives has been taken in last 5 or 6 years. So this is the major thing. So therefore you can say talking about present policies which are still in existence. So this is what you have to write. So if you see the previous question, so manufacturing always be a favorite area of UPSC. So at least one question they are asking every year. So this time also they have asked a question. Now, what is the status of digitalization in the Indian economy? Now this question is expected. Why? Because the same digital is you can say the UPSC favorite term or favorite topic. So they find, or you will find question in prelims also as well as in mains also. Now why digitalization has become important? It is because after demonetization. So you all know the 8th November 2016 date. So after that, this digitalization is become a part of our life. So everyone, that is, you can say every person surrounding you is using digital, or you can say they get digital. So this question is expected. So they're asking the status. So in this you have to keep this thing in mind also, that some people are left out. So how to bring that? So that is why the second part, examine the problem faced in this regard and suggest improvements. So this is what you have to tell.
Here, there is one thing which you have to understand along with this question. If you are preparing for GS paper 2 and GS paper 3, it is said that you should have some collection of facts also. Like if we talk about the first part of this question, it is asking, what is the status of digitalization in the Indian economy? Now, for proving your points, you need to have certain facts like what is the penetration of internet in India. Then you have to also know about the facts like how many people are digitally illiterate. Okay, you will find that many of the people who are there, around 3/4 of the people who are there, they don't have this ability to open a mail or send a mail with proper attachment. So you have to know the digital literacy part also. And here it is asking about the status of digitalization. So you cannot simply leave it at that how many telephones are there or how many mobile connections or broadband connections are there. You have to look into all the possible dimensions that if we look at the digitalization in all the different areas, you can also talk about the rural or urban divide here. The first part requires some of the knowledge of the facts, and then again the second part is something like where you have to tell the problems which are in this regard and suggest improvements. So if we look at this question overall, if we look at the difficulty level, I will say that the second part of the question is something which is quite much easy, because if you are preparing for mains examination, you know that what are the problems there and what improvements can be there. The first part is where it is something which can make the difference. If you know the facts, if you have collected the facts during your preparation, then of course you can write a very good answer in here. I think, sir, you would agree for this?
Yes. So in last, I can say that this question requires your current affair knowledge. So more or less current affair knowledge is required for that. So if you are reading any source of current affairs, especially particular newspaper, so you find enough articles in the newspaper with respect to digital, you can say digitalization of Indian economy. Now the next question is with respect to, you can say this question is from agriculture. So as the question says, how does e-technology help farmer in production and marketing of agricultural produce? Explain it. So you can say in your syllabus, it has been clearly mentioned e-technology in the aid of farmer. So they have framed a very simple question. So this question again require, you can say a knowledge of your static plus, you can say current affairs. So ultimately what I can say here, like agriculture is the sector which has been or which has very less contribution in GDP. So now e-technology has been seen as one way to increase its contribution in GDP, because when we use e-technology, it is not only help us in increasing the production, but also it help us to solve so many environmental challenges also. So as it says in production and marketing, so two parts are there. So production means like we are using micro irrigation, that is a part of e-technology. Okay, we are using, or you can say, a very famous scheme of government, that is soil health card. So ultimately, when you have to analyze the quality of the soil, or you can say what nutrients soil have, so that is done with the help of technology only, or you can say e-technology. So this is what you have to mention here. So ultimately, in production stage as well as marketing. So in marketing, we have a very good example, that is enam. So enam is the, you can say, a very important thing that you have to mention. Plus, you know that when you are using technology at both the stages, production and marketing, especially if I talk about production, it is going to help us in solving environmental problems also. Like we use agricultural drones. So with drones, we are, you can say, using only those fertilizers, or you can say fertilizers which are required. So we are not giving extra input, or you can say overutilization of fertilizer. So ultimately, it is providing solution for both, that is, you can say, economy as well as environment. As well as if you see, like in IT sector, people are using, you can say, technology. So you know that whenever people are using technology, their social status get increased. Now this will help us to increase the social status of farmers also. So sir, tell what is your stand?
See, sir, like I was telling everything about how this e-technology is there, and this is something like which is very basic part of your syllabus. It is directly coming from the syllabus part, and I hope all of those who have appeared for the examination this year, they might have prepared this topic very well. This is something which we can say that it is quite a easy question. Now, whenever the question is easy, it is your skill of writing the answer that makes the difference. You have to use your skill very much, like here you have to answer in 150 words only. So it is your skill to answer that, to like utilize most of the things and then represent it. So here you will require that, like if we talk about, there are two dimensions, production and marketing. So you might not be able to write all the different things, but then if you use the flow charts, if you use the diagrams, then of course you can write a very good answer for this. This is a basic part of syllabus. And when the question is easy, the answering is like something which has to become more precise. It has to become more beautiful, more unique than others. So this is one thing which you have to keep in mind. When the questions are easy, you have to represent it better. Okay. And now, like if we talk about the content of this topic, the production and marketing, you know that government has also been giving a huge impetus in both of these things, in the production pattern also, in the marketing also, and especially in the recent times, we can see that there is a digitalization of especially the agriculture marketing infrastructures. Like sir was telling about enam, the APMC mandis, they are being converted into enam basically. And at the same time, even if we look at it, it is not just about the government sector, even the private sector is coming up. You can see that right now, like contract farming is something which is becoming popular. There are various apps which are like now directly linking the farmers to the kitchens. You might have heard about the different delivery apps which are there. So that is also something where the technology is helping in management, or technology helping in production and marketing of the agricultural produce. And this is a simple question, so you have to be creative in answering this question.
Although you can also mention about e-warehouse receipts in this also, but I will say that to answer it better way. So if you are following, you can say Kurukshetra. So there you can get a good answer. So Kurukshetra basically focus on your agriculture part. Okay, so most of the magazines are related to agriculture or rural India. So that can give you a good answer. So if you are following it, so those who are writing mains, so definitely they have written a good answer for this. Clear? Now next is with respect to, again this topic is again with respect to, you can say, agriculture. Okay, or you can say they have not mentioned agriculture, but as per our syllabus it is in agriculture. So state the objective and measures of land reforms in India. Discuss how land ceiling policy on land holding can be considered as an effective reforms under economic criteria. So ultimately, you know that right now we are facing the problem of land fragmentation. So it is very must that we must go for land consolidation. That is why Government of India is also emphasizing on digitalization of lands. So because that is the first step, because when you have a proper data, then only you can think of land consolidation. So this, you have to talk about objectives and measures of land reform. So this question is again static question. Okay, so there is, you can say, no current affair part. So although current affair part is needed, whatever recent steps has been taken, like if you talk about cooperative farming, so there also what we are doing, that farmers, or you can say farmers are jointly practicing farming. So this is also help in, you can say, in land reforms. So land ceiling, if you see that we are doing immediately after independence. Okay,
See, there is a context of this question. You might have seen that in the last year, we have got so much impetus on digitization of the land record by the government. Government has been trying to make the land as an asset. And for this, if you like, the things are going in the current affairs, like land digitization is going on, schemes are going on for this. And at the same time, UPSC has linked it with the static portion. This is a basic standard question from the static portion that state the objective and measures of land reform. This is something like when you start reading your paper 3, then you will go for this topic, that what is the objective and measures of land reforms, like what are the policy, this policy of land ceiling which was implemented just after independence, or in some states even later, and in some areas it is still being debated. So how effective it can be, this is some basic part or standard part which we cover as a part of your syllabus. Now this topic has become something which is you can say that obsolete topic. But since there was already something going on in the last year, like already land digitization was going on in the last year. So for that very purpose, UPSC has connected with the static portion. So this is one thing which you have to keep in mind when you are preparing for the next year, that if something is there, if some new thing has been started, if like we can see right now the government is focusing on robotics or any other part. So then you have to connect it with the static portion of it also. So this is one thing which you have to keep in mind, that if new schemes or new methods are coming for the obsolete things, then you have to read the basics as well. Yeah.
Now, if you see that when we talk about land ceiling, so here you also have to talk about Land Acquisition Act. That is also talking about land ceiling. Plus, even directly, indirectly, your Forest Right Act is also talking about lands. Okay, or you can say land ceiling. So here our major focus is that when you are doing, because as the question says discuss, so you need to tell about both positives, or you can say pros and cons. So we have to make sure that in the name of land ceiling, our agriculture land must not divert it to non-agriculture purpose. So we have to protect our agriculture land, because India has a burden of food security also. It's not only with respect to India, with respect to global level also. So this is what India has been seen. So that is why this land ceiling question is expected one. Even if you see that in past also, that is from 2013 till date, you will observe that they have asked so many questions on land reforms. Like for example, I remember one question that talked about how land reforms help to improve the socio-economic status of the farmer. Okay, so these are the things they have asked in past also. So ultimately one thing I can say after seeing these questions, or especially this question, that when you are preparing for UPSC, you have to keep your previous year question with you, or you have to analyze those questions every day, because mostly the questions has been asked on that extension line only. Clear? Now the next question is science and tech question. Now introduce the concept of artificial intelligence. Now artificial intelligence, again with the name itself we can say this is a current affair based question. How does AI help clinical diagnosis? So again, you have to tell the relationship between AI and health sector. Do you perceive any threat to privacy of the individual in the use of AI in healthcare? So ultimately, data. So these, you can say this question is again, you can say a mixture of static and current, but more oriented towards current. Okay. So what, sir, what you will say about this question, sir?
See, if we look at this question, this was something which we have been expecting for the last 1 or 2 years, that there should be a question from the artificial intelligence. And especially if we look at it in the last 1-2 years, how the generative AI has become quite much popular around the globe. And in this context, this question was something which all of us were expecting, that yes, there will be a question from this artificial intelligence sector. Now, if you look at this question, and I will say that this is something which is very much easy on this part. If you have read about artificial intelligence, and I think you might not have skipped it. If you have prepared for science and tech chapter, then this is something which you must have prepared. That was a direct question. Introduce the concept of artificial intelligence. And then the second part was asking, how does AI help in clinical diagnosis? Now, this is one simple part, and you know that if you have prepared for the artificial intelligence, you might have prepared across the different dimensions. Like we have a general, like you can say that approach to the science tech topics. Like suppose if any topic like artificial intelligence or blockchain is coming up, we try to connect it with the sectors of economy and the demography. We try to connect it like there could have been a question about artificial intelligence in agriculture, artificial intelligence in health sector, artificial intelligence in education, or any other related sector. And at the same time, there could have been question about artificial intelligence for women empowerment, for youth, or for elderly citizens. Okay, so this is something which is you can say that a basic tenet of the science and tech part. Okay, and here, yes, this question was quite much good. And you can see the second part, do you perceive any threat to the privacy of the individual in the use of AI in healthcare? Now that is also something, if you have studied about artificial intelligence in healthcare, you know that. And see, one more thing, you might have seen in the last few years, government has come up with this program of having a health profile of the people. We have got the national health profile. We have got so many digital cards which are there, which are used to track the patients and all. And in this all cases, the artificial intelligence is something which is becoming quite much frequently used. And you know that there is a simple concern that the AI, it can generate data, it can make some bias among the people. Using the AI, the bias can also be done by the insurance companies and all. We have covered this in our part of mains residential program also, that what are the threats to the privacy due to AI in healthcare and other segments. So this is something which is quite expected question on this topic.
Okay. Now, if you see that after seeing this question, I realized one thing, that UPSC is asking very practical questions. Now, I used to see one hoardings every day. When you travel from near to any hospital, so they have said that now robotics is there. So for example, knee replacement. Okay, so knee replacement is done by robots. Okay, so that is in case of artificial intelligence. Yes, sir. Right. Okay, similarly in cancer treatment also we are using AI. So this is what you have to mention. So ultimately, practically, so some knowledge you learn from books, or you can say newspaper, but some knowledge you learn practically also. So when you go to some places, so it is very important that you observe the things surrounding you. Okay, so if you have observed those things, so you can write multiple examples. So I hope that in your lifetime you have visited any hospital or near to hospital, so you have seen the hoardings. Especially I am talking about big hospitals, like in Delhi there is a big hospital, AIMS, Gangaram. So in your place also there is some big hospital, so you can see the hoardings. So they are now they are saying in that. Okay, now coming to the next question, that is the sixth question. Discuss several ways in which microorganism can help in meeting the current fuel shortage. Now, again, if you see, this question is unexpected one. Okay, but unexpected one, why I am telling you? Because normally we talk about microorganism in prelims, but they have focused in mains also this time. Okay, so normally we study with respect to only prelims like biofuels and all those things, but we never expected that they can ask the same thing in mains also. But this year they have asked, because microorganism is such which we ignore in our life also. Okay, now if you see microorganisms, so even few days back there were articles in newspaper like fungus should be a part of flora and fauna. Okay, so I think UPSC is continuously aware of current affairs, so that is why they are framing such questions. So ultimately here you have to talk the role of microorganism with respect to fuel shortage. Okay,
see, I think the biofuel policy which was announced a few years back, and we were talking about the fourth generation of biofuels in India. So this question is something which can be expected on that pattern, that yes, there can be question coming from this microorganism. Now you know that microorganisms can again be helpful in other modes of this fuel, like the production of fuel also. Okay, so this is something which we can again expect, like if we talk about even if we talk about the growth of various plants, or you can talk about the synthesis of various waste products, in that also the microorganisms are helping. So in all these patterns, we can see that this is something which could have been asked in environment, but yes, this is something which is a bit on tougher side. Why tough? You know the answer, but you don't know that much to write about 150 word. So that becomes a bit of challenging part. Okay, like we know that many of the time the microorganisms are used for production of fuels. It has been projected, it has been said. That is something which we know. But then if you have to write 150 words, then this becomes a challenge, and they are asking discuss several ways. So you don't have to focus on just one part that, okay, this can be helpful in just the fourth generation of biofuels. You have to talk about the other dimensions of it also. So on this section, it is a bit like, if we look at the 6 questions which we have seen so far. So in this part, it can be regarded as the tougher one in comparison to the previous 5 questions. Okay.
So as sir said very correctly, because as I told you in the beginning that these are the topics which we focus on prelims. So ultimately students have faced, although this question seems easy, but definitely students have faced challenge in writing 150 words. Okay, so this is also, we have to see that when you know the thing, but how to write. So that is also the art of writing. Okay, now coming to next 7th question. Now this 7th question is with respect to dam failures. So you know that there is a dam safety bill. Okay, so you have to talk about that also. Dam failures are always catastrophic, especially on the downstream side, resulting in a colossal loss of life and property. No doubt, whenever there is a, you can say, dam failure, so it is going to have impact on life and property. Analyze the various causes of dam failure. Give 2 examples of large dam failures. Now here one thing is, you have to remember that when you have to analyze the various causes or you have to give examples, so in this question they have not mentioned with respect to India. So if you have any world example also, I think that we can also quote that also here. Okay, so it is not with respect to India context only. So you can, we are talking about, you can say this question is from disaster management, so you have to write in general with keeping in mind India as well as global examples. Okay, so sir.
Yes. Again, like, there is one thing. If we look at this dam failure, I think if you are looking at the current catastrophes which are going on in India also across the Himalayan states, you might have read about this topic, dam failures, and especially the dam safety bill was there in quite much there in the news. And for that matter, you might have read about the first part, that yes, dam failures are catastrophic, they can lead to loss of life and property, and then the causes part is also something which you know about. Okay, I hope you might have already written about this. You might have written well about this, that what are the various causes of the dam failures, and this is something, yes, many people could have done it quite easily. If we look at the second part, give 2 examples of large dam failures. Now this is one part where I think some of the students might have faced difficulty. Like, generally, if we look at it, we don't have such examples of large dam failures in the Indian context in the recent 4-5 years. So that is something which might have proved to be a problem. But although if we look a little back in 2015-16, then we get the examples. Okay. But if we look at the recent times, it might have been difficult for some of the students to write exactly this, that what are the 2 examples of large dam failures in the recent times, or even they don't have asked about recent times. So if you have read the topic in depth, then you might be aware about it. And this is what I want to emphasize upon. Like, suppose if we talk about the disaster management topic or any such related thing, then you should have some examples as a case study part also.
Yes.
Like, if we talk about the agriculture part, if we talk about disaster management, even if we talk about economy or any other thing, if you have certain case studies, if you have certain examples, that is something which can help you to fetch extra mark. Even if they are not asking it in the question, and you have certain example, then you can put it there as a part of your case study in your answer, and it can fetch you some extra marks. So here they have directly asked, but for the next time, keep this in mind, that if you are reading these topics of disaster management or anything like that, keep some examples. Okay, some famous examples you should be having. At least if you are not using in GS3, you can use them in writing your essay. Okay, so this is one thing, like GS paper 2 and GS paper 3. It has been said that here you need to have facts, here you need to have examples, here you need to have the knowledge of policies, schemes and all. So this is where you have to work.
No, one thing I'll say that I know that most of the students have studied this topic, but they have studied in context of dam safety bill, okay, or dam safety act. Now point is this, if you have written those things, okay, although you can use it as a reference, but question is not on dam safety bill. Okay, now answer for this question you will definitely, again you can say, you will get from static portion. So when I'm saying static, it means you will get from NCRTs also, but that knowledge is not sufficient, because they are here they are asking you examples also as well as various causes. You will get the answer from the Yojana magazine. So every year there is one magazine on the theme disaster management. So there you can get. Also, you can, if you are reading Down to Earth, Science Reporter, there also you can get such articles. So ultimately you have to filter out, you have to keep such articles with you, then only you can write a good answer. Clear? So ultimately in such questions you have to differentiate yourself with respect to others in order to get good marks. Okay. Now moving further. Now what is oil pollution? What are its impact on marine ecosystem? In what ways is oil pollution particularly harmful for a country like India? Now such questions are easy to understand. But what is the major challenges? Like we have seen microorganism question also and this also. Now these questions are easy to understand. Those who are not writing mains, they said that this is very easy question. But actually the real condition or status will tell you those students who are writing the mains. So they will say that we understand the question, but in exam, or you can say you will get 5 to 6 minutes to write answer. So in that 5 to 6 minutes, you will get only 1 or 2 minutes to think. Okay. So you will say that in 1 or 2 minutes, you are not getting idea or dimensions what to write. So this is the major challenge. So in such questions, what major challenge is like to complete 150 words. So it is like this, I know the question, but I don't know the answer. That is complete answer. So this is the major challenge. So this question is again, you can say direct or static question, but challenges like what to write. Now sir will tell you this thing.
If I look at this question and if I compare it with that of the microorganism question, then I will still say that it is on the moderate side, because you have got the three parts here. First is what is oil pollution. Second, they are asking what are its impact on the marine ecosystem. And the third part, in what way is oil pollution particularly harmful for a country like India? So now if you have that skill of writing answer, of course you can write answer here quite beautifully. Like this is one part, what are its impact on the marine ecosystem? This is one part. If you have read the chapter of biodiversity, if you have read the chapter of pollution and environmental issues, even from the NCRTs or the related current affairs, then you can answer this part very much beautifully, that what are its impact on the marine ecosystem. You can connect it with the food security part, you can connect it with the biodiversity, you can talk about the coastal community. All these things can be connected here. Here you can easily write 4 or 5 different points. And then in the Indian context, you can also talk about, like we can see that if we look at the Indian geography, we have like our entire coastal areas on 3 sides are surrounded by the sea. We are having huge marine ecosystem. And in this context, it become quite useful because a significant population, nearly 40% of the population is living in marine areas. And so it is going to impact their livelihood, their food security and other aspects. Okay, it is also going to impact the tourism in that area. So again, this is something which I think that yes, you could have answered. Means it was of a moderate level if you have gone in the depth of the topic. If you have read this topic from the environment side, then yes, you can answer it. Okay.
Now moving further, that is question number 9. Now, winning hearts and minds in terrorism affected area is an essential step in restoring the trust of the population. Now after reading this line, I recall a movie that is Munna Bhai MBBS Jadoo Ki Chappi. Okay, so love has so much power. Okay, love has so much power. Even you can recall Shah Rukh Khan also. So love has so much power. So if you see, so ultimately love is that thing which can help in building trust, or you can say wherever trust deficit is there, that can get reduced. Okay, so this is what restoring the trust of the population. So no doubt this statement is very well said. Discuss the measures adopted by the government in this respect as a part of conflict resolution in Jammu and Kashmir. So you have to tell what steps has been taken by the government. So ultimately participation of the people. Okay, and here I can say that economic participation is the main thing. Okay, apart from this, you can say other participation like in other sectors also is needed. So if you can say feel whatever you can say they want to feel. So you can say in this, you can say two-way communication is very important. Okay, so it is not like that ki government is only saying and people have to just implement. So ultimately when two-way communication is there, so person can release whatever you can say heat he has with respect to. So this question is with respect to that. Now sir will tell you the other part.
See, if you look at this question, the first part of the question is setting the context that when you are answering the question, you have to answer in this regard. Okay. Winning of hearts and minds in terrorism affected areas is an essential step in restoring the trust of the population. And then they are asking, discuss the measures adopted by the government in this respect. You might have seen that in the recent years, government has been trying to become very much people centric, especially if we talk about Jammu and Kashmir region or other areas where there is such chances of insurgencies or extremist activities going on. The government has been adopting people centric methods. You might have seen various several videos of those many a times the army people having very close interactions with the people who are living there, the youth who are actively participating in these programs, and several other cultural and other festivals. Okay, this is what you have to keep in mind when you are answering this question. Okay, the CA discuss the measures adopted by government in this respect. So they have made this very much clear that you have to focus on this part, that winning of heart and mind. So it is not about the security measure that government is taking, that what security measure have been taken, have you used technology for, have you used drones or anything. The context is here that how the government has become more centric toward people, as sir was explaining, of Shah Rukh Khan, or if we talk about Munna Bhai MBBS or any such movie. And sir was rightly saying that it is the love which makes the people's participation more easier. So in this context itself, you have to write that how the government has been trying to restore the trust by actively participating, by actively engaging with the citizens in these areas. So that was the context, that was the demand of this question.
So we can say that government has taken so many initiatives with respect to opportunities to be created for the people of Jammu and Kashmir. Okay, so this is what you can say this government is doing by themselves also, as well as taking the help of private sector. Clear? Now the next question is the use of unmanned aerial vehicles by our adversaries across the borders to ferry arms or ammunition, drugs, etc. is a serious threat to the internal security. Comment on the measures being taken to tackle this threat. So you know that we have a, you can say recently, or you can say in news also, that is with respect to drone attack in Punjab. So that is why this question has been framed in internal security. Clear?
See, I think this is something which was quite much on the expected line, especially if we look at that the government has announced the drone policy. There have been so many changes. There have been changes about the positive use of it also, and plus there have been the security challenges also. So this was the question which was quite much on the expected line. And if we look at this particular, the reference which was given, the use of unmanned air vehicles by our adversaries across the borders. You might have seen, if you have gone through this topic, you might have got these facts that there have been more than 100 of cases in just 1 year where the drones have been captured by our security forces who were trying to smuggle the arms, the drugs, or even the you can say that the counterfeit currencies which were being transported or which were being sent to India from Pakistan. It has been caught across the border, the western border. So this is something which was quite much on the expected line. And the question is, comment on the measures being taken to tackle this threat. So again, you have to see this part, that what is the demand of the question. The demand here just talks about what measures has been taken in this regard. Of course, you can give the context in the introduction. If we talk about the introduction, what you can give here, you can use certain facts, that how many such cases have been registered, that there have been these transfer of the arms, ammunitions, drug, counter currencies across the border. So this is one part which is, I think this is again some question which is from easy to moderate level. If you have studied it, you can answer it. Okay.
Now this up to 10 questions, it is, you can say 10 marker. Okay, so which you have to write in 150 words. So you can say 10 marker questions are over. Now we are shifting to a 15 marker question which you have to write in 250 words. So again, if question is easy and you have no words, so you will face challenge in writing 250 words. Okay. Now most of the unemployment in India is structural in nature. Examine the methodology adopted to compute unemployment in the country and suggest improvement. Although this question seems easy. Why I am saying easy? Because it is easy to understand. but the answer is difficult. Now, when I'm saying answer is difficult, first of all, to answer this question, most of the unemployment in India is structural in nature. So you must know the data. Okay, without data you cannot. So in economy, some numbers are very important. So here you need those numbers. So you know, or if you are aware of that, most, or you can say more than 80% of your employment is in unorganized sector. Okay, then you must know what is structural unemployment means. So ultimately there are so many types of unemployment. So there you have studied about structural. So you must know about that. Now second part. So although first part you can say that, sir, I'll mug up the data and write. Okay, those who have this data, they can easily handle this question. Now examine the methodology adopted to compute unemployment in the country. Now this question is technical one. Okay, so this thing either rarely you will find in newspaper, although you find suggestion part. So first I'll tell you what you have to mention here. So you know that we have introduced labor force periodic survey, okay, in 2017, but before that we have employment unemployment survey. So you must know what methodology they are using. So you have studied about usual principal status. So I'm just telling you some technical thing. Okay, so you have to talk about that. Okay, casual worker status. So these are the things that you have to tell, because they are asking methodology adopted. Okay, so it is not like that you can write anything. Okay, and then you have to tell suggestion what improvement is needed. So this question is talking about that thing, which you have to write in 250 words. So there are three parts of this question. Number one, most of the unemployment in India is structural. Second, examine the methodology adopted, and third is suggest improvement. So which you have to write in 250 words.
I think, sir, this question is coming from the static portion. I think this examine the methodology adopted to compute employment in the country and suggest improvement. This is improvement part. I think you know that from the current affairs part also you can add, or even by just reading the static portion you can read. Now, it is very often said that the third paper, GS paper 3, is largely dynamic in nature. But we have seen this year that especially some of the questions, they are coming from the standard theories or the standard things which we read in our course books. So this is again we can see that the methodology for computing the unemployment, this is part of the normal course book structure also. And see, that is one thing which I want to tell you, that you cannot be simply focusing just on the current affairs for the preparation of mains examination. You have to also see that what are the static portions, and then you have to build upon that. You have to add the current affairs over that, or the current issues over that, but then you have to go with the static as well. You have to have the knowledge. Those who have read it, those who have gone through this topic, and I think most of the people who are going for examination have gone through this topic, so they can easily answer this. But those who have skipped it, thinking that maybe this will not be asked, this is an obsolete topic, so there they might face this difficulty that yes, I have read it many times for the prelims, but maybe for the mains I have not prepared for it. So this is one thing which you have to keep in mind, that along with the current affairs, like you might have expected that on unemployment, there might have been question about discuss the causes of unemployment in India, or why the unemployment is on rise in India, or anything like that, or what policies have been there for reducing the unemployment in India. But then the question is about what methodology has been adopted to compute the unemployment. So this is one part. You have to go for the in-depth knowledge of the topic, the static part also, the standard part also, and plus adding the current issues.
So you can say methodology is a technical part. So you must know about this thing. So every time you find article on Hindu, so you know that after every quarter there is a data of labor force, that is your labor force periodic survey. So there you can see that some good articles are there which are telling you suggestions also. So this, you can say, methodology part is technical one. So those who know it, they have written it very well. Okay, and they will get good marks also. Okay. Now, next question. Distinguish between care economy and monetized economy. How can care economy be brought into monetized economy through women empowerment? So ultimately this, if you see care economy and monetized economy, so this is what something is unexpected. So they have asked about care economy, although there are so many articles on care economy in your newspaper, that is both in the Hindu or Indian Express. Now ultimately I think that why they have asked this question, because of very low female participation in labor force. So that is why they have asked this question. Clear? Because you know that women has been given a burden of household activities, okay, like managing the household. Okay, so that is why they have asked this question. So this, they want to bring that how care economy can be monetized. So you can say concept of work from home plus other things you also have to elaborate.
Okay, this is something where you have to look into the way the UPSC is asking question. Normally, the questions about women empowerment are generally there in GS paper 1 or 2. But this time they have linked it with economy and they have brought it in the third paper also, GS paper 3 also, that how this care economy can be monetized as well. What is the difference between them, how it can be monetized as well. Yes, this is in the current context, but then you have to look at the approach of UPSC. They have been asking the questions across the different dimension. You cannot say that the questions related to women empowerment can only be there in GS paper 1 or GS paper 3. It can come in GS paper or GS paper 2. It can come in paper 3 also and paper 4 also. So that is one thing which you have to keep in mind. The topics will move from here to there.
Now the next question is again agriculture part. So I can say that in agriculture, like 13 and 14 plus one question on land reforms we have seen. So total 3 questions are there. So around 15 plus 15 plus 10. Okay. So you can say 40 marks from agriculture. Okay. So agriculture you cannot take it lightly. So like this 13 question is saying explain the changes in cropping pattern in India in the context of changes in consumption pattern and marketing condition. Now this question I have covered in my class. Okay. So I can say with surety. Even the 14th one also I have covered in my class. So ultimately this is the thing. Even land reform portion. So agriculture I can say with surety that if you see my classes or lectures, so you are able to solve the questions. Okay. Now when I say changes in cropping pattern in India. So if you see the previous year questions also, they have asked a question on crop diversification and it is not only once, they have asked multiple times. So you must know what is the current cropping pattern. So first of all, you must know how much land is utilized for agriculture purpose out of the total area we have. So you will see that around 55-60% of India's land is used for agriculture land. And in that also, majorly we focus on limited crops. So we have to move from those crops to other crops. That is why this question is expected. So if I talk about oil seeds, so all of you consume refined oil. So how many of you know that your more than 50% of our refined oil consumption is coming from outside? So India is dependent on import for refined oil. So that is why this question is expected and explain the changes in cropping pattern in India in the context of changes in consumption pattern and marketing condition. So this is what you have to remember. Clear? So this is very, very important. Even we are talking about animal husbandry also. So for animal husbandry, you need fodder. So fodder is a part of cropping pattern. So change in cropping pattern. So you need a quality fodder also. So this is expected one. So you have to cover holistically and there is enough data. And for this, you can say in newspaper, very less article is there. So I can say with surety, but this question you can write if you have a good knowledge of geography as well as economy, then you can write a good answer. Clear? Because although the question is in economy part, but little bit knowledge of geography is also required. Clear? Although you don't have to write geography concepts here, but you need a knowledge to better understand the economy part. Clear? So those who are my student, they know better. Those who have studied this thing from me, they better, or I am 100% sure they have written this question very well. Okay.
Yes, sir. I think also that if we look at the question number 13 and 14, this is something which is quite much on the expected line only. If we look at this exam, explain the changes in cropping pattern, this is something which we know that, yes, the pattern is changing and the cropping pattern and everything is changing according to the consumption pattern. The consumption pattern has, especially in the last 10 to 20 years, we can see that it has significantly changed also. Okay. And even now it is quite much evolving. Nowadays, if we see that the people have again started to focus. If you want to write, you can also write the newer trend here. You can mention here that now there is an increased focus. There is an increased focus on the millets, especially we have this 2023 as International Year of Millets. So now the people are also going for millet consumption, and you can see that there is an increase in percentage of millet production also, which is going on in the recent years. So that is also something which you can have added in this part, that yes, millet consumption is also increasing. And the fruits and vegetables, of course, you might have seen the new things which is coming up. For example, we have the dragon fruits and which are quite much in demand right now. And with the onset of these e-commerce platforms, we can see that now there is hydroponics and aquaponics. They are also becoming quite much common. Popular, yeah. Okay. So this is also something which you can mention as a part of the new pattern in the cropping system of India. Okay. So that is one thing. And then if we talk about the 14th question, this is again simple thing. The direct and indirect subsidies provided to the farm sector in India. This is on the basic line. I think this is one of the easiest portion. Direct mention in the syllabus. Like that question was there. E-technology in the aid of farmer. So on that we have seen the third question, and there also we have seen direct and indirect subsidies provided to farm sector in India. So this is basic part of syllabus, and then there are discuss the issues raised by World Trade Organization in relation to agricultural subsidies. I think also this is a simpler part. Like we have seen that this is something which is ongoing for quite a long time, and as part of the preparation you must have prepared about this. So these two questions I can say that it is again in easy to moderate. If you are prepared, you can write it quite well, and there is enough content here to write 250 words quite much easily. So this is something which I can expect that it is more on easier line than on moderate.
So in this 14th question, which is about subsidies, or you can say WTO. So I can just give you a hint, although we have a separate discussion also in the evening, that is after 6, at 6 p.m. So you can join that also. So in 14th question, when I talk about WTO, so I just give you some hint like amber box, blue box, green box. So you have studied. So that is again a static portion or static part. So that you have to write, or you have to discuss in this context. Okay. So how these boxes are going to impact our farm subsidies. So this is what you have to mention. So although they are asking about subsidies with respect to farm sector, so they are not asking about subsidies with respect to other sectors. So this is what you have to keep in mind and write a good answer. Clear? Now, next is with respect to electric vehicle. The adoption of electric vehicle is rapidly growing worldwide. How do electric vehicle contribute to reducing carbon emission, and what are the key benefits they offer compared to traditional consumption engine vehicle? So ultimately this question is for electric vehicle. So you must know some schemes also where government is emphasizing, like FAME scheme is a very famous scheme. Okay, the name itself is FAME, so it is very famous. And also like no doubt electric vehicle contribute to reducing carbon emission. But some of you may say that to produce electricity we need coal, as we are dependent on thermal now. Okay, but remember one thing, that in your environment you talk about primary or secondary source. Okay, or you can say what do you call, sir, point and non-point? Okay, yes, point. So point is where you can collect easily, non-point is difficult to collect. So you have to mention that no doubt coal thermal plant, we know that this is the only source, so we can easily collect. Okay, so this is the benefit, that pollution is from one source only, whereas in traditional vehicle pollution is coming from non-point sources, so difficult to collect. So this is what you have to tell. Okay, so this is the benefit, and ultimately you have to talk about traditional combustion engine, that you have to talk about benefit they offer compared to traditional combustion engines. So ultimately cost. Okay, so you can say running cost, although the car is costly. Okay, car is costly right now, but government is working over that also, so that car cost can also come down. Okay, but right now what is the benefit, that operational cost is less as compared to traditional cost. So although there are other benefits also, so sir will tell.
See, this is again something like there were two topics, and out of these two we have got one question. There is one thing which is our electric vehicle. The second one was the hydrogen fuel based vehicles. Okay, so we were expecting the question on either the electric vehicles or the hydrogen fuel vehicle, and we have also covered it as part of our mains residential program, this electric vehicle thing. And see, the question is again quite much simpler here, that how it contributes to the vehicle, how it contributes to reducing the carbon emission, and again at the same time what are the key benefits offered compared to traditional combustion engine vehicle. So this is something which is I will say that a easy question if you have read the electric fuels, if you have read about the electric vehicles, or even if this part, the energy part, then this is something which is easy question. As sir was telling this part, that if we talk about the electric vehicles, then of course the transport related pollution, it is becoming a major concern right now. Like if we talk about the thermal power plants, there we have several technologies. For example, we have this electrostatic precipitator, which can be used to remove the pollutants from there, especially the particulate matters. Okay, so this is something which can be done, and right now we can see that we have got more than 40% of our energy installed capacity from the renewable sources. So things are changing now, and maybe in the upcoming years, like we have this target also by 2030, we will have 50% of our energy generation from the renewable sources, from the non-fossil sources. So on this line, and especially if you look at this, the government has announced from time to time that by 2030, around most of our fleets will be from the electric vehicles. You can see here you can see that if we talk about Uttar Pradesh or if we talk about Delhi, we can see that there have been quite much a heavy adoption of electric buses there. Electric buses are becoming quite much common across the country. And the EV vehicles, their sale is also increasing quite much. Government is offering subsidy and so many other incentives are also there. So this is something which was quite much expected, and we can say that this is also something which is easier one to answer. Then we have this question, and it was quite much expected also. What is the main task of India's third moon mission which could not be achieved in its earlier mission? List the countries that have achieved this task and then introduce the subsystems in the spacecraft launched and explain the role of Virtual Launch Control Center at the Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, which contributed to the successful launch from Sriharikota. So I think you might have seen that glimpse of how the Chandrayaan 3 has been successful, how the Vikram lander has reached to the near the southern pole of moon also. Okay. So that is something which we have all seen, and this was quite much expected also, that this year there might have been question on this very topic. Last year there was this question on James Webb Space Telescope. It was there in December 2021 we have got the James Webb Space Telescope, and there was a question in that year also in 2022. Similarly, this year we have got the Chandrayaan 3 was there, and then again the question is here. And you can see this first thing, what is the main task? I think all of you know. We have all seen it on the on the live platform, that what was the main task of this Chandrayaan. Then we have also seen that what are the countries who have been able to do that. You could have also mentioned there that India is the first country in the world to have a soft landing near the South Pole. Of course, the other countries have done the soft landing on the surface of moon, but then we are the first to do it near the South Pole of the moon. Okay. And then this third part, introduce the subsystems in the spacecraft launched and explain the role of Virtual Launch Control Center. Now the first two part is something which is quite much easier. The third part is a bit technical. Even in this third part, you can see introduce the subsystems in the spacecraft launch. So this is something you can mention about. We can mention about the Vikram lander. You can mention about the Pragyan rover, their application. But then there is also explain the role of Virtual Launch Control Center. You might have all seen this, that during this Chandrayaan mission, there was no such manual control of the mission. It was all automated system. There was no intervention from the ground. It was all being done through this Virtual Control Center itself. Okay. So this is also something which you might have observed during that time. And for that, if you have seen during that time, if you have read the current affairs, then yes, you could have answered this quite easily. Okay. So this is something which is easier on this part, and yes, you can answer it. Okay.
So you can see that this question is totally based on current affairs. Okay, so you will not find in any static book. Okay, so for that you have to be in touch with current affairs, or you can say in your newspaper part. Okay, so you cannot take your current affairs lightly, because if you see paper 1 and 2 also, so there are multiple questions from current affairs, and this paper also. Clear? Now, next is comment on the National Wetland Conservation Program initiated by the Government of India and name a few India's wetland of international importance included in the Ramsar site. Now, what is the thing? Now, again, this question is very easy, which you can say static one, but problem is, again, you have to write in 250 words. So again, it is a challenging one. Okay, because when it comes to prelims, okay, so this topic is, again, you emphasize on prelims. So this time I have seen that UPSC has given importance to those topics which they used to ask in only prelims. Now they have introduced in mains also. Like, I remember that you learn, or you can say you talk about features of this program, plus you study about examples also. But what is the, you can say, tendency of most of the students, that they just read the list and they know that we will play with our visual memory. Okay, visual memory, that when option will be there, we'll tick it. But here they want you have to write. So although you have 1 or 2 examples, but you have to write more also. Name a few India's wetland of international included in Ramsar site. So ultimately you have to talk about that also, as well as about the program. Clear? So those who know the program features, so they can get good marks. But those who try to frame features that time itself in the exam. So ultimately you know that you are going to lose marks in that. But ultimately these such questions, if you are ready with such questions, or you have a good content, or you mug up, or your mug up portion is very good, because these questions does not need any conceptual clarity. Mug up is more needed. If your mug up is good, so I can say with surety that out of 15, although UPSC has a tendency to give 50-60% marks, but whatever marks they are giving, you will get the highest marks. Okay, but those who will frame answer in the exam itself, they will not get, or they will get less marks. Okay.
See, yes, again, but there is one catch here, like, see here, National Wetland Conservation Program Initiative. Now, for this, I think you can write about easily about 100 to 120 words using introduction and the main body part of National Wetland Conservation Program. If you have read about this scheme, this program of government, then yes, you can mention. And what is the advantage here? They have not given the number. They have given name of few India's wetland of international importance included in the Ramsar site. So there is this important thing, like they have given name of few. So a few can be 4 or 5 also. You can mention, if you can mention 4 or 5 different, and that is something which you can easily mention. You can talk about Chilika, you can talk about Bhoj wetland and others. Okay. So there are some of the wetlands which are quite much in the news. If you are going through environment, if you have gone through these topics, then some of them are quite much important. You can talk about the Loktak Lake. Okay. So there are some of the important topics which you have which you have seen, which you have easily gone through. And if you apply a bit of logic here, a bit of presence of mind at that time, then yes, you can write this answer also. You can mention about the National Wetland Conservation Program in about 100 to 120 words, and then about in next 80 or 120 words or 80 or 100 words, you can also mention about, even if you take 4 different Ramsar sites and you write 20 or 25 words each about them, then I think you can easily mention about this. You can easily complete 250 words.
Sir, one student is asking, do we just name or add a few lines?
See, there is one thing, like since this is 250 word question, and even if you just go through writing the name, it won't be sufficient. So just write the name, write a few unique feature of it. In just 1 or 2 lines, write some unique feature about it, and that will help you. Because this National Wetland Conservation Program, you cannot be writing in 250 words. This will not be possible for you to write about this entire National Wetland Conservation Program in 250 words. So suppose you have reached 150 words by writing this part, National Wetland Conservation Program, then you can mention the Ramsar sites, and you can mention a few lines, just 1 or 2 lines, not in detail. And if you take 4 different such Ramsar sites, I think you can easily fulfill your word limits. Okay. So I think that answers your question, Ajay.
Okay. Now, next question, again 15 marks. It is with respect to IPCC. So IPCC work is to predict only. So they have already predicted in the past that global sea level rise about 1 meter by 2100 AD. What would be its impact in India and other countries in the Indian Ocean region? So no doubt, when water level is rising, so we are going to sink. So in our case, our coastal areas are the first one to get impacted. Okay, whereas in island countries, or you can say whatever islands we have, they are going to impact. So this question has been asked with respect to that, what would be its impact in India and other countries in the Indian Ocean region. So no doubt, again this question is simple, static, but what is needed, that you have enough word limits or words to express yourself in 250 words. So again the student has faced challenge in that. So those who are writing mains, definitely they have faced challenge. Even those who are not writing, if you sit and try to write, you will also face the challenge in expressing yourself in 250 words. So that is important. Clear? So this question is, you can say, with respect to climate change. So you have to be ready with such questions. So you find articles in newspaper also, but more or less you cover in static also. So whatever articles you find, okay, so all information automatically will be covered in your, you can say, either wherever you have taken classes, okay, or even we have also covered in our classes about this portion very well.
See, about this, look at this question. The IPCC has predicted a global sea level rise of about 1 meter by 2100 AD. What would be its impact in India and the other countries in the Indian Ocean region? Now see this one part. Like one of you have written this in the comment box also, that a proper analysis of social, economic and environmental issues. I think Anchal Chaudhary has mentioned this, that if you have a proper analysis of social, economic and environmental issues, then yes, that is something which can be used in answering this question as well. That you can try to connect it with the social aspect, the economic aspect, the environmental aspects, and then yes, this is possible to write it. The only catch is you have to mention or you have to focus on Indian Ocean region. That is what you have to talk about. You have to focus yourself in the Indian Ocean region. And see, one more thing here you have to understand, like we know that we have to write about the impact on India, but then you have to talk about the other countries who are also there in the vicinity. Like you can talk about the Southeast Asian countries, you can talk about the African countries, you can talk about the island countries like Mauritius, Maldives, Mozambique, and etc. Okay, so try to take some examples from them also, that what can be the impact on these countries or the people who are living there. If you look at this, like again the same thing, if there is an environmental challenge, you have to see it, that what is going to be the impact on economy, what is going to be impact on society, what is going to be impact on environment, what is going to be impact on demography. If you try to interlink, and that is the basic part. When you are preparing for mains examination, you cannot be just looking in one dimension. You have to go for interlinking of the different dimensions. And this is what is again needed in this question also. And see, again, whenever you are reading the questions, read carefully, not just India, the entire Indian Ocean region. You have to look at the other countries also, that what can be the impact on other countries. So this is what you are expected to write in this question.
Although the word impact is said, they have used the word impact. So we can say this way also, like no doubt sinking of coastal areas will be there if I talk with respect to India. But if you see, there will be a melting of glaciers also. That is why global sea level is rising. Yes, sir, or not?
Yes.
Okay. Plus, when you can say this is the environmental angle. Apart from this, if you see that when melting of glaciers will be there, so it will impact tourism also, because most of the people go to that places to enjoy tourist, or you can say they are the tourist places, and you can say migration is also there. So these are the other impact. So apart from environmental impact, there is economic, non-economic. So you can say economic and non-economic costs are there. So this is what you have to tell about in this question.
One more thing, sir, like Ajay has rightly mentioned, that there can be an impact on the sovereignty also. You might be aware about the island dispute between India and Bangladesh, which became resolved just because the island submerged itself. Yes. So that is what, yes, there is going to be some impact. There may be rising of new conflicts, or there may be settlement of some of the older conflicts also as a part of this rising of the sea level. So yes, Ajay, that is clear. That is very much rightly written. You have rightly mentioned that yes, there is going to be impact on sovereignty as well. Now, we have the 19th question from the internal security dimension. What are the internal security challenges being faced by India? This is a pure abstract question, simple question from the syllabus portion. Give out the role of central intelligence and investigative agencies tasked to counter such threat. So again, this is something which is part of the basic course. Okay, whenever you are reading about the internal security, you also see that what are the forces which are there, what is the role of NIA, or what is the role of other agencies which are there in order to counter these internal security challenges. What are the role of different security personnel who are there. Okay, so they have asked about the central intelligence and investigative agencies. So this is what you have to talk about also. And plus this simple part is there, that what are the internal security challenges being faced by India. So I think that is also on simple line. Second part may be a bit of difficult. Okay, but then yes, if you are prepared for it, then you can easily mention it. Okay.
So here I can say again, just like they have asked question on terrorism. Okay, that winning the hearts. So I again remember that there are so many. You can say your learning can be outside books also. So as it says in investigating agencies, okay, plus central agencies. So you must also talk about the role of IB and RAW, and we have so many series also nowadays, like Family Man, okay, Special OPS, okay. I think there is one series also, Operation Majnu. So those things, if you are in favor or you see those things, so you have a more practical understanding and you can better write such things. Clear. So this question you can write. So there are so many movies nowadays, and I hope every Indian has or you can say we are waiting for such series. Okay, I used to wait, so I hope you also. Okay, yes, one is writing Tiger Zinda hai. Yes, Ajay, very well said. Okay, now come to the last question. So give out the major sources of terror funding in India and the efforts being made to curtail these sources. In the light of this, also discuss the aim and objective of the No Money for Terror conference recently held at New Delhi in November 2022. So ultimately, again, you can say current affair based question. So as they have clearly mentioned about this conference that has happened in November 2022. So ultimately, you can say directly indirectly this question is from your syllabus part, and in your syllabus a word is mentioned, that is money laundering. So money laundering and organized crimes, they have a link. So this question is related to that. So if you have well or a good knowledge of your static portion along with this current part, you can write this question very well.
Yes, see, there is mixing of two different things. Give out the major sources of terror funding in India and the efforts being made to curtail these sources. This is something which is of the standard part of the syllabus. Like whenever we are talking about internal security, we read this aspect that what are the major sources of terror funding and what the efforts have been taken. Like in the efforts, you can start from demonetization, you go for digitization of the economy. You can go about the other measures which have been adopted by the government in the recent times. So these all are the measures, and then you can talk about the sources of terror funding. Right now, you can talk about the blockchain or the cryptocurrencies which are being used.
Yes,
even right now you can see that like we have so many games which are there, the online games which are being used for terror funding. Okay, which are used for terror funding. So that is also something which you can mention. So you can have some static linkage, like normal thing is there, money laundering, like sir was saying, and other traditional methods. Along with that, new innovations have come up, especially with the virtual currencies. New innovations have come up for the terror funding part also. And the government is also trying to actively discourage that or stop that thing also. Okay, and then the second part was again purely from the current dynamics, that discuss the aim and objective of No Money for Terror conference, which was held in in November 2022 recently. So this is the part of current affairs. We can easily see about what are the aims and objective of this No Money for Terror conference, and then you can answer it. So this is something which is static and current mix part also.
So here you can also mention about dark web. So that is, dark web is also, you can say they are looking, or you can say source of terror funding. Okay, so see, ultimately in such questions you have to show your knowledge or good content clear to the examiner. So when you use good content like dark web, okay, so even in the form of ransom also we are taking, or you can say some people are taking money in cryptocurrency. Okay, so again I think that security part you can learn better outside books. Okay, so when you go for web series and all those things, so there are so many series, that is Indian series as well as foreign series, you can say Hollywood, Bollywood. Okay, so they will make you learn so many things. Clear? So ultimately this is what you can incorporate and you can get a good marks along with some basic book that you can read for security portion. Clear? So I hope you really enjoyed this session. Okay, and we'll meet you soon at sharp 6 p.m. with the discussion of these questions. So I am going to take economy questions and sir is going to take your science and tech, environment, disaster management and security. So 8 questions I'll take, rest 12 questions sir will take. Okay, so we'll meet at 6 p.m. sharp, and please continue the series. It will definitely help you out. So in the end I would like to say Jai Hind. तो अब मैं सर को बोलता हूँ कि सर कुछ कहना चाहते हैं तो.
So see, just a few lines about the paper. You can see one thing, like the pattern of the questions has nearly remained same. Like they have been asking 3 questions from this side of science and tech, 4 questions from internal security, 4 or 5 questions from environment and disaster management. So this is something which is on the normal pattern also. The questions have been like this time there is more focus a bit on the static part of the syllabus, or you can say that the standard part of the syllabus, not the static but the standard part of, and then the dynamic is still there. Okay, so this is the orientation of the paper. And like there is one question, I am in class 10 now, can prepare for UPSC. Yes, you can definitely start your preparation. You can go through the basic things right now, like you can go start with the NCRTs, you can start reading the NCRTs, and then you can also go with the current affairs. You can go read the newspapers from this time. when you start reading the newspaper from the early age, then you develop that understanding of a lot of new things. You get all these perspectives, and then it becomes quite easy for you that after 12th or after graduation, when you are coming for examination, it will be very much crucial. It will be very much helpful for you. You will have already a lot of understanding about the different topic. So yes, it is definitely going to help you. So Santanu, yes, you can start. And today we will meet again at 6 p.m. to discuss the answers of these questions. We will see what you could have written, or suppose if you are getting these questions, then what should be your approach in writing the answers. So let's meet at 6 p.m. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.
Thank you.
And have a nice day.